The Brutality of School, Part 2. Sequels have gotten a bad rap here lately, as far as movie production goes. Enough so to where when people see a movie on their Netflix or whatever and it says Part 1, some of the reviewers are saying audiences are reluctant to invest in the Part 1, knowing that there's not going to be a full resolution. Hopefully that's not the case here. I always wanted my Part 2 to be like Terminator 2, which by all accounts is one of the most perfect movies ever made, up to and including the soundtrack. I was a big Guns N' Roses fan, and that You Could Be Mine is one of those songs that I don't know how to put it. It represents the throes of the last hair metal stuff that I liked before I really got into Metallica and grunge. So I think I just hold it in this endearment. I'm just fucking with you. This video's not going to be that good. Shafe made a response to my video, rightly calling me out for missing the point of his video. I don't know what the fuck my problem was. I think you painted the picture of that desk, and from then on, instead of listening to what you were saying, I was just plugging in my own experiences. And between being young and just getting the spankings and everything else, teachers liked me, and that was just damned unfortunate, as I was exempt from those public humiliation episodes. However, thinking back and looking back, I did see them. So maybe I can make some chicken salad out of this. When I saw it happen to someone else, there was nothing about me witnessing that motivated me to do better. And there was nothing about witnessing those episodes that motivated me to encourage one of my classmates to do better. Which I can only assume, in the strategy of education, the idea would be almost like a military drill instructor, in that if you are performing a correction to one of your people, you want that correction to reach everybody, so you make a show of it. Unfortunately, I think, as you rightly say, that is at the cost and the detriment of that particular individual. You know, I mean, I could tell from listening to you in that video, it made a mark. I'm like, holy shit, man. To the point of, say, the reason why I remember those desks from 3rd grade was my best friend's father died. And so I'm able to kind of plug in that trauma, and, you know, there I am with you in those scenarios, and it kind of unlocks some events that are around that, like a letter tab in my brain, so to speak. How did that help you? I mean, we've learned so much now, and where you said we're better for strangers not being able to beat the shit out of our kids, I'd like to play a little bit of devil's advocate with that. On the one hand, sure, but on the other hand, now just hear me out. And again, when you said all kids are liars, well, obviously the kids around me are, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm going by, my personal experience. And I feel like I see other parents as being somewhat naive when their default position is taking the child's side, was my point in that. But if you go like to the old-timey times, and if you take it from the standpoint of it takes a village to raise a kid, if old man Johnson caught you setting fires behind the old dry goods store, he could kick your ass right then and there, whether old man Johnson was your dad, your uncle, or whatever. If you were being watched by your grandparents could conceivably kick your ass. Your uncle could kick your ass. Are we better off without corporal punishment? Or, you know, I didn't believe in corporal punishment growing these kids up, especially from the standpoint of if you're doling it out when you're upset. You know, where is the logic in that? I think plugging that into what we know now moving forward, when they say like your frontal lobe of your brain, they say now, isn't fully developed until now. They're saying like your mid-20s. So that's the portion of your brain that does the decision making and logic. That's incredible. And I think that turns an education system sort of on its ear. So all of that being said, I'd like to turn back a little bit and see if where we all stand on what is the point of a publicly funded public education system in the first place. You hear people like when they have to pay their land taxes and they have the expenses of the land tax all itemized out, and people look at it and they're like, why am I paying for public schools? La 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 la. I'm interested in where everybody in our clique stands on that. Are we saying like, you're responsible for the education of our kids, your kids, just your own kids? If you got no kids, you don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak. I would like to plug this into a historical context and pose the proposition that public education does serve a nation and a community's interest. There are terrible things that happen when you have an ignorant population. Biggest thing of which is I think it allows for an increase of tribalism, which is harmful. It increases the potential for violence. It imposes social structures that are very harmful to us as a people, as a species. Because it would be a scenario of a family that is wealthy, has the ability to educate itself, whereas a family or a caste that is not can be excluded from that education and not better itself. And we are in a high technology society, and even if we weren't, there are things such as trade secrets in farming, passed on knowledge from hunting, and to have a baseline education for everyone around you, say being able to read, everybody around you saying being able to do a certain level of arithmetic, have a certain level of communication standard, have a certain level of baseline scientific understanding. Whether or not you and I have direct interaction I benefit from your education. Now, even more ideal is you take individuals that are very special, people with an extraordinary intellect. If we look at it from the standpoint of a person born of an extraordinary intellect, if they are to benefit society, your odds of having that individual benefit you are much greater with a public education system that they are exposed to, versus if, heaven forbid, that child of extraordinary intellect is born to impoverished parents and can't find their way out of it. I mean, to me, that's almost a recipe for bad. You know, you take a person who grows up in those situations, I think that's where you get some of these like very evil criminal masterminds. I mean, the intellect's still there. That person can still put things together. But if an intellect is recognized in a person and they're motivated correctly and they have assistance with establishing a moral compass, then those people can go on to do great things. And in a world of other nations, in a world of other communities, there are times when we go toe-to-toe with another nation that wants the things that we have. Then you got a problem there. You know, if you've got a bunch of ignorant individuals, then you could conceivably be a victim of the violence of another nation that may want the resources that fall within your borders. And it wouldn't be something you could immediately train out. I had some friends, when they served overseas, they had situations to where they had to instruct individuals of different countries. I'm not going to name countries, I'm not going to name names, but they had a situation where these people who volunteered to do these things for their country, little things like not knowing left from right, not knowing how to read, not knowing mathematics, you're pissing uphill with that situation. So I think a social education system as a policy is a good thing and does benefit you even when you don't realize it. Even if it's from the standpoint of it keeps the ignorant hungry from standing at your doorway with pitchforks and torches and threatening to burn your house down if they don't get their money or get their food because they don't know how to fucking get it themselves. What say y'all?